The grid went down 6 days ago. No warning, no explanation, just silence where the hum used to be. The gas stations dried up on day 2. The grocery stores were gutted by day 3. And now, on day 6, you're standing in what used to be a kitchen, staring at a dead refrigerator and a phone with 4% battery, realizing something that most people figure out way too late. The collapse didn't kill them. Their own ignorance did. Every skill they outsourced to convenience, every system they assumed would always just work, that's what's putting them in the ground. Not the event, the unpreparedness. You had the same warning they did. You had the same 24 hours in a day. The difference is what you did with them before everything stopped. 7 skills. That's the distance between you and a body count. Not weapons, not a bunker, not a year's worth of freeze-dried meals. 7 boring, unglamorous, deeply unsexy skills that nobody talks about because they sound like something your grandfather did before he had Wi-Fi. The people who mastered them aren't scrambling right now. They're working, methodically, without panic. That's what competence looks like when the world stops performing. Pay attention. This is the only class that matters now. Fire is not a luxury. Fire is the line between alive and dead. It boils your water. It cooks your food. It keeps your core temperature from dropping into the range where your body starts shutting down organs to protect itself. And the moment civilization fractures, every lighter, every matchbook, every butane canister becomes currency and then becomes gone. So you need fire without any of that. The method that works when everything else fails is friction-based ignition. Find dry softwood for your fireboard, basswood, cedar, willow. Find a harder, denser wood for your spindle. Carve a small depression into the fireboard. Place a dry leaf beneath it to catch the ember when it forms. Apply firm downward pressure on the spindle and rotate fast, consistently without breaking rhythm. You are not trying to create a flame. You are trying to create a coal. When you see smoke rising steadily from the depression, you have it. Transfer that coal carefully into a bundle of dry tinder, grass, shredded bark, cattail fluff, and blow slowly from beneath, feeding it oxygen until it ignites. Combustion requires 3 things: fuel, heat above 300 degrees Fahrenheit, and oxygen. Friction generates the heat. The tinder bundle is the fuel. Your breath controls the oxygen. The fire doesn't care about your desperation. It responds to physics. Learn the physics. Execute it correctly. Do it again until it's automatic. You look at a stream and you see water. Wrong. You are looking at a delivery system for every microscopic threat that has ever washed into that watershed upstream of you. Giardia, Cryptosporidium, coliform bacteria, Leptospira. None of them are visible. None of them announce themselves. All of them will dismantle your digestive system within 48 to 72 hours, converting a manageable survival situation into a fail one. Dehydration accelerated by illness in a grid-down environment is not a slow death. It is a fast one. The instinct to drink because you're thirsty and the water looks clear is exactly the instinct that fills shallow graves. Every water source you encounter is compromised until you prove otherwise. That proof requires action, not optimism. Before a single drop into your body, you treat it. No exceptions, no rationalization. The moment you start negotiating with that rule is the moment you lose.
Boiling is your baseline. 1 minute at a rolling boil destroys every biological threat in that water. At altitude above 6,500 feet, extend that to 3 minutes. Lower atmospheric pressure drops the boiling point, and pathogens need more time to die. No container for boiling? Use the SOTUS method. Fill a clear plastic bottle, set it in direct sunlight for 6 hours minimum. UV radiation at the right wavelength denatures the DNA of microorganisms, rendering them unable to replicate. No sun? Build a basic filter. Layer a container with grass at the bottom, then crushed charcoal from your fire, then fine sand, then gravel at the top. Pour water through slowly. This removes particulates and some chemical contamination, but it is not sterilization. Filter first, then boil. Always in that order. Skipping steps is how you end up incapacitated 3 days later wondering what went wrong. Navigation next. GPS dies when the satellites stop being maintained or when your device runs out of power. Whichever comes first, it comes fast. And without it, most people walk in circles, literally. The human body has a dominant side. Without external reference points, that slight strength imbalance causes your steps to curve. Studies have confirmed that blindfolded subjects walking in open fields loop back to their starting point within a few hundred meters. You need fixed reference points. At night, find Polaris. In the northern hemisphere, it sits directly above true north, within 1 degree. Locate the Big Dipper, follow the 2 stars at the edge of its cup upward, and the first bright star you hit is Polaris. During the day, the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. At solar noon, it sits due south in the northern hemisphere. Plant a stick in the ground, mark the tip of its shadow, wait 15 minutes, mark again. The line between those two marks runs east to west. You now have a compass. No batteries required, no signal needed. Just geometry and the rotation of a planet that hasn't stopped working yet. Your refrigerator is a box, a useless box. Everything inside it has an expiration date measured in days when the power stops. So you need to understand what actually kills food: microbial growth, moisture, and oxidation, and then attack all three with what you have. Salt draws moisture out of meat and fish through osmosis, creating an environment where bacteria cannot survive. Pack cuts completely. Use enough salt to form a visible crust and store in a cool, dark place. They will last weeks. Drying achieves the same result through desiccation. Slice then, expose maximum surface area. Hang in moving air or near a heat source. Sun drying works, but airflow matters more than direct heat. Fermentation is controlled bacterial growth. You're cultivating the right microorganisms to outcompete the dangerous ones. Vegetables submerged in a salt brine will ferment safely at room temperature. The lactic acid produced drops the pH below the threshold where pathogens can function. These are not primitive methods. They are precise biological interventions that kept armies fed and cities alive for thousands of years before refrigeration existed. They will keep you alive now.
No emergency services are coming. Accept that now. The moment infrastructure collapses, the systems designed to save you from your own body become unavailable. A cut that would have been a 10-minute clinic visit in the old world becomes a negotiation with mortality in this one. Infection doesn't wait. Bacteria enter a wound within minutes. Without intervention, a soft tissue infection progresses to systemic involvement in days. That is not a slow decline. That is a rapid shutdown. First priority, irrigation. Flush the wound aggressively with the cleanest water you have. Volume matters more than pressure. Remove visible debris. Do not close a dirty wound. Sealing contamination inside accelerates the catastrophe. If you have no antiseptic, raw, unprocessed honey creates an osmotic environment hostile to bacterial growth and has been used in wound management for centuries. Pack deep wounds loosely. Change dressings when saturated. Watch for spreading redness, heat, and red streaking moving away from the wound site. That streaking means the infection is entering your bloodstream. At that point, your options narrow to almost nothing. Catch it before that point, every time. Rope next. A length of rope and the knowledge to use it solves more problems than almost any other single resource. Shelter construction, animal traps, load transport, splint securing. 3 knots cover the majority of field situations. The bowline creates a fixed loop that will not tighten under load. Use it to anchor lines and secure shelters. The clove hitch is a fast adjustable attachment to a post or branch, essential for lashing structures together. The square knot joins 2 lines of equal thickness. Use it to extend cordage or close bandages. Practice until your hands execute them in complete darkness without thought. If you have no manufactured rope, make it. Fibrous plants, stinging nettle, dogbane, cattail leaves can be twisted into functional cordage using a reverse twist technique. 2 bundles twisted clockwise, then wrapped around each other counterclockwise. The opposing tensions lock the fibers together under load. It works. Use it. Last one. Stored food ends, always. The only sustainable position is one where you are producing calories, not just consuming them. Dandelion is everywhere and entirely edible. Leaves, roots, flowers. Plantain, the broad-leafed weed in every patch of disturbed soil, is edible and carries mild antibacterial properties. Cattail provides starch from its roots year-round. Learn 5 species in your specific region with absolute certainty before you need them. Misidentification is not a minor error. Some of the most lethal plants on the continent are nearly identical to edible ones. When in doubt, leave it. For growing, loosen soil, plant seeds 2 to 3 times their diameter deep, maintain moisture. Fast crops, radishes, leafy greens, beans, yield in 3 to 6 weeks. That timeline matters when reserves run low. 7 skills. That's the entire gap between prepared and finished. Fire, water, navigation, preservation, medical, rope work, food production. None of them require specialized gear, none of them require a degree. They require repetition before you need them, because the moment you need them is not the moment to start learning. The people who make it through aren't the ones with the most equipment. They're the ones who practiced boring things until those things became automatic. You now know what those things are. The only question is whether you act before the clock starts. It doesn't wait for you to feel ready. It never does.